hear me? They gave me this stupid thing. And by the way, we dropped the dot in our name. It's a personal pet peeve of mine. I want you guys to know that I'm scared. I'm scared to stand up here and talk in front of you because the talk I'm going to give is something that I've never done before, and it's really, really personal. For some reason, at Big Omaha, and now here at Big Kansas City, I like to tell stories that I don't tell anyone else. But one of the things that we do as founders is we don't talk to each other. We don't talk to each other about the hard times. I don't know, a few months ago, a friend of mine committed suicide, Jody Shepard. And it was a really sad time for most people in the entrepreneur community, for me personally. And I don't know why. Jody and I weren't best friends. We didn't hang out every day. But for some reason, the circumstances around his death hit me really hard. And I spent a lot of time thinking about why. Not why did he kill himself, but why did it resonate so much within the entrepreneurial community? Why did it hit me so hard? And I started to think about how we look at the world. And what I realized is the one thing that we don't do as entrepreneurs, the one thing, we spend all of our time optimizing companies, and we spend all of our time optimizing funnels and all that kind of crap. We never spend any time optimizing ourselves. And so I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about how I do it. And hopefully that could be helpful to you guys. Now, I will let you know that every single photo in here I took. So I'm trying to be a photographer now, so I'm trying to be super cool. Don't laugh at any of my photos. You can laugh at me, because I get very sad and I might cry. But we'll walk through each one of these. I also tried to make them very, very designed, because I knew I was following Mike, who's a personal mentor of mine, and so I tried to make them look really pretty. So if they don't look good, blame Mike. It's his fault that my shit doesn't look good. So I'm gonna tell you a story. Let's start with the story. So you heard my introduction. I've done startups forever. My mom likes to say that as I came out, as I was born, I was trying to convince the doctor on a diaper delivery service, and I've done this my entire life. I don't know how to do anything else, and I've had those conversations. What would I do? Like, I don't even know what job I would have. Like, I'm just a dude that starts companies or works at them and helps build them, and that's all I've ever done. And so now I'm at this company called Graphically. And Graphically's been around for 3 years. We started in 2009-ish, early 2010. And in building it, we started off as building a marketplace for comic books. We wanted to be a place where people could come, buy digital comic books, and share them with our friends. And what we realized is that's really hard. It's really hard because there are 2 companies that own every single comic book in the world, right? Marvel or DC. People care about Spider-Man or Superman, and they don't give a shit about anything else. And if you didn't have deals with those 2 companies, you weren't going to make it. And we didn't. Another company did, and they're doing great. And in fact, if you're a comic book fan, download their app and have fun. But what we realized was that we couldn't get there. And I had raised about $1 million, and we were cranking along, and things were tough, and I couldn't figure out how to go. And in early 2012, we made a pivot, and we decided that rather than trying to create a marketplace, we would create tools that would enable publishers of any size and type to take their content, primarily illustrated work, and put it up on Kindle and iBooks and the rest. And we started to go down that path. And things looked really good. And while we were sitting there doing it, I would come home every single day, and I would sit in my backyard, and I would be drained. I literally would sit in my backyard like this. And I would sit there for an hour, dogs running around, and I could see no color. Nothing. I would just see black and white. And all I kept thinking to myself is, why am I doing this shit? I could go do something else. I don't know what it would be, but I should be able to do something. Like, some VC might want to hire me, or maybe I could go work at MySpace. They're clearly in trouble. But I sat there, drained. And I didn't know why. And every night when I'd go to sleep, my brain would be going nuts with 100,000 thoughts. And I had nobody to talk to. I had nobody. Who understands what it's like to be a founder? Nobody wants a weak founder. Everybody wants that strong founder. They want that person that fights the mountains, right? That can put together the greatest ideas and videos and all kinds of stuff. That's who they want. That's who VCs want to invest in. That's who people want to work for. They don't want to work for the guy that's sitting in his backyard wondering what the hell he was doing. Or at the age of 40, who's been through tons and tons of startups, was questioning his abilities, who's talked to dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of other startups and founders about what they're doing in their lives and how to fix and optimize minuscule things in order to drive their companies, and watching those companies get really, really good. Who was I going to talk to? I didn't know. And what I realized was at the end of the day that the people I should talk to are the people sitting next to me. The people I should talk to are other founders. That every other founder is feeling the exact same way I'm feeling. Literally, every single founder is feeling exactly as I am feeling. They are questioning, can they do it? They're wondering, why the hell did some VC or investor or buddy or mother write them some god-awful gigantic check? Why do they look them in the eye and go, you're the person who's going to make this happen? On top of that, you read TechCrunch and you're like, this stupid idea got $3 million? The fuck? And it crushes you. And so I realized that there are two things that are happening. I realized that one, silence has to end. We have to be able to reach out to the people around us and be able to tell them that we are unhappy. We have to be able to reach out to the people to our left and to our right and say, I think I can do this, but I don't know if I can. Can you help me? We talked yesterday about how important it is to end every single conversation with, how can I help you? But who the fuck ever says, how can you help me? We forget that that's important. Every single conversation I have, 98%, I end with, how can I help you? And you know what most people come back with? Is something specific to their business. It's not what I'm asking. You know when you ask somebody, how are you? 98% of the time, what do they tell you? How their business is doing. It's not what I asked you. What I asked you is, how are you? What can I do to help you? Your business is a business. And that was the big thing that was the moment, the epiphany in my brain. And, oh, oops. Okay, good. I like this slide. This is in the Wall Street Journal, which is my dog, Taylor. And then the sign behind me says, let's make better mistakes tomorrow. It's my favorite thing. And this is a treadmill desk. And if you don't own one, you should go buy one. They're pretty awesome. So for me, the epiphany moment was I had gotten to this point where I was drained, and I was tired, and I wanted to quit. And I was looking for other CEOs. I was in the process of trying to sell the company. And I'll tell you why this was in the Wall Street Journal. I was in the process of trying to sell the company. I had talked to Apple and Facebook and a bunch of other people that I don't even remember because there was lots of them. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, this is bullshit. I hate this. I hate what I'm doing. I'm 345 pounds at that point, 350 pounds. And I'm like, this sucks. And a buddy of mine goes, come play basketball. And I said, okay, right? Granted, I'm not basketball body. So I put on these shoes, the shoes I'm wearing today, and I went over there and I played ball. And I was, for a long term, if anybody knows my history, I went through a bout of drug abuse, and during that time period, what a lot of people don't know is that at some point during that process, I was sitting down on my couch working, and I stood up and my right leg felt like it had fallen asleep, and it basically didn't wake up for 5 years. It got to the point where literally when I was driving, I would press on the gas and I would lift it up and I couldn't feel where the brake was. Which, by the way, super exciting. And I remember actually, I remember when I was freaking out about the whole thing, I went to drive to the emergency room in Denver when I was living there. And for some reason, all the cops hung out at the emergency room. I'm not exactly sure how that works. If anyone's a cop wants to explain to me, I actually don't care. But But there's all these cops hanging out in front of the emergency room, and I'm driving in, and I'm sober at this point, right? I've sobered up over 2 days, my leg's not working, and I get up there and I'm gassing, then I go to hit brake, and I'm like, holy shit, I'm gonna have an accident, and there's a ton of cops right here, and I'm totally gonna go to jail, and I'm actually trying to sober right now, but it's really because of my leg. So I park, and then I'm walking out, and I'm literally stumbling like I'm drunk, and I'm like, I'm really not drunk, please cops, no, just leave me alone. And I get in, and I wait for an hour and a half, and I go into the nurse, and she's like, it's either a pinched nerve, or you have multiple sclerosis. I'm like, they have telethons for that shit. That sounds bad. She's like, yeah, go get an MRI. And I'm like, all right, fine. So I literally went and got an MRI. You guys can't see it, but if you ever come up to me, there's a tattoo I have on the inside of my arm. It's actually my brain on drugs. If you guys remember that old ad campaign. But it actually looks really cool. So you should really come up and look at it at some point. Not right now, but in a minute. It turned out that it has to do with something, but my leg continues to be slightly paralyzed. I can now feel the gas and the brake, so I'm not quite the menace I once was. And I've been sober, so that makes me even less of a menace. Thanks. Yeah. I think I got sober. I did get sober on April 1st, and I think it's to always remind me of how big a fool I was when I wasn't sober. But anyway, so my leg's better. So I'm going off to play basketball. And if you'll notice, if you talk to me, I lean. And I lean because sometimes I can't feel my leg properly. So I'm trying to keep myself balanced. And when you've got a little bit of a stomach, slight stomach, your weight's just thrown off. It's hard to balance 330 pounds, right? Although I break dance really well. So I'm out there and playing basketball. We play the whole time. And one of the things that happens because of this weirdness I have in my leg is that my left Achilles gets really, really tight. And it gets really, really painful. And I'm freaking out that one of these days it's just going to snap because I'm 40 and that's what happens, right? At some point your Achilles snaps for anyone who's athletic at any level. So I'm freaking out because my body's playing basketball, the whole thing. And I have fun and I play basketball. And then I get home and my leg is killing me. My left leg, because I can feel it. My right leg, I can't feel, so it might be hurting, but I don't know. But my left leg hurts really bad, my left Achilles. And I have a Fitbit, which I'm obsessed with. And I have now this Basis watch that actually tells me my heart rate, which is currently at 101. So if anyone knows CPR, if it hits 120, I'll give you a call. Or 140 maybe. And I get home and I'm like, I have to get 10,000 steps on my Fitbit. You all know what a Fitbit is, right? Basic pedometer. And I'm at about 8,000. And it's about 2,500 steps per mile. And I have this treadmill, and I'm standing on this treadmill, and I'm walking, right? And I'm walking on this treadmill, and my leg is killing me. It's killing me so badly that I'm crying. I'm literally weeping. And I'm like, just another 500 steps, and I'll make it. Maybe I can go faster. I'm like, I can't go faster. And I'm going on this thing. And in the midst of all this, I'm thinking to myself, I'm killing myself for some arbitrary number. I'm killing myself for something that absolutely doesn't matter, and I'm giving up on something that does. I'm giving up on something that is paying for 15 people to eat. I'm paying for something, I'm giving up on something that, we've raised $5 million towards, that people look up to me for being able to do. For all these, and I'm just sitting there. And I'm like, there's something wrong with this. I shouldn't just give up. What I should do is I should really take a look at why I'm not doing well, why the company is not doing well, and I should reach out. I shouldn't do this by myself. And so I sat down, I hit 10,000 steps. If I remember, it was 10,134. And I sat down, and I started to think through, what was I doing wrong? What are we doing wrong? And I realized it was this. And that's an actual tattoo I have on my arm. What's the number one thing that you say when people ask you how it's going? It's awesome. Things are great. It's bullshit. Things are never great. Things are good, but they're never great. There's always something you can do better. And as a founder, 9 times out of 10, you don't care about the awesome. You just assume the other person doesn't care. As a founder, you're spending your entire time worried about the not awesome. So you tell people it's awesome. You tell people that you're crushing it. How many times have you ever said that when somebody asked you how it's going? Just crushing it. Things are great. Maybe killing it. Right? We've all read Gary Vaynerchuk's book. Gary V, good friend. Love the guy to death. He fucked us with his crushing it thing. Right? We all bought into it. We all bought into the idea of the way to succeed is to work harder. The way to succeed is to continually work. The way to succeed is to crush it, to kill it, to spend your life doing nothing but work. Because if you get successful, life is awesome. And it's not Gary's fault. Gary worked his ass off. He did an amazing job at building up a liquor store into a $60 million business, taking an internet video and turning it into, being able to speak in front of 17,000 people. Right? Gary is love, and I have no negative, other than the fact that he fucked us with this stupid crush it thing. You're not killing it. You're not crushing it. You're doing a good job. And that was the thing that got me, was I realized at the end of the day that we had it backwards. By the way, my favorite picture of me as a kid. I still am pissed off that I wasn't wearing Batman. I have no idea why I went with Robin. I think I'm going to talk to my mother about that because I'm pretty sure I have a complex to this day that somehow I'm not good enough to be Batman. I worked on it. I'm Batman. He's good. But we get to this point where we believe that what we do is who we are. And we tell ourselves that's not true. We have families, right? We have people, we have friends. But when we're asked how we are, we respond with how well the company is doing. When asked who you are, you tell me about your company. That's the problem. That, in a nutshell, is the problem. We are not our companies, and it's okay. Here's the reality of a business, right? When you're running a startup, you're a couple people, and the primary person that's driving that business, because they came up with the idea, is the founder. And the most important person for that startup is the founder. Yet we tell the founder to spend their entire life, their health, their well-being, their mental happiness on building a business. And it's okay because at some point in the future, you will be successful and you will be happy. Happy deferred. That's the price you pay for running a company. Happiness deferred. It's bullshit. And I have stronger words, but I was told that Kansas City's pretty conservative. So I will stop with bullshit. What if you went the other way? What if you optimized for you? What if you put you in front of the company? Right? What's your natural visceral reaction to that statement? You're calling me bullshit. But it's counterintuitive. How many people have ever played golf? Right? Hate the sport, but the primary thing about golf is that the slower you swing, the further the ball goes. It's counterintuitive. Right? Baseball isn't about strength of arms, it's about your waist. Right? It's counterintuitive. What if we were the same way with startups? What if we put ourselves in front of the startup? What if we put ourselves at a point where we were working at 100%, 120%? What do you think would happen to that startup? Would it go now at 150%? 175%? Would we be happier? Would our employees be happier? Would our investors be happier? Would our customers be happier? Would MySpace not have failed? These are questions we ask. I do like how often Mike said Facebook. I just want to let you know I counted about 7. But think about it, right? What if we were to put ourselves first? And how do we do that? So that's the question, right? You go, sweet, Mija, easy. You do that, you hippie from California, right? But how do you do it? Well, I've learned some things, and I'll tell you kind of the things I do. And I've learned this over the last 6 months, and I will tell you personally, and I'm not trying to be Tony Robbins, and I'm not trying to be like, yo, this is how your life will be so much better. But I will tell you how I've done it, and it has literally made a difference that is astronomical in our business. And I can show you charts that show the moment I decided to do this to the point where we broke $2 million in revenue. I can show you where we went from X number of users to Y number of customers. I can show you, literally to the day. And it was when I made the decision to put myself first. So, oh, that's the light. Oh, I have a laser pointer. That's the trick. Gift yourself. First thing I do every single morning is I have 2 alarms set. One alarm is set at 7 a.m., one alarm is set at 7:30. Every single morning I turn off the 7 o'clock alarm and I sleep until 7:30. Why? Because the very first thing I do in the day is I give myself 30 minutes. Time. It's the one thing we don't have enough of. And the first thing I do is I give myself 30 minutes. And I don't always sleep for the 30. Sometimes I read my iPad, never check email. Sometimes I hang out with my dogs. But it's my 30 minutes. It's literally that simple. I set an alarm. There's some other things I do, but that was the first thing. And I was amazed. By the way, there's a phone on the top of that is actually my alarm clock. There's a phone. It doesn't work. It's like an old iPod Touch. My physical phone is actually in another room. I don't have my phone in my room. I don't have my iPad in my room. Little known thing, just from like a brain thing, is that if you read your iPad before you go to sleep, you'll actually have worse sleep. So get an actual book or a Kindle. You'll find that your sleep is actually better. Partly because of the distraction, but partly because of the way the screens are. So the first thing I do is I give myself 30 minutes. I put myself first. When I wake up, the very first thing I do is 100% selfish. It's about me. Think about it. When you wake up, what's the first thing you reach for? Is it email, which is for other people, or is it you or your spouse? If you don't reach for you or your spouse, then you're not putting yourself first, and therefore, the rest of the equation falls apart. I'm not math, so therefore I don't know what the rest of the equation is. You put yourself first. Wake up in the morning, and the very first thing you do is for you. 100% all about you. When I wake up in the morning, this is my cat. If you notice, he only has one tooth. He's a good cat. That's Max. When I wake up in the morning, the thing I do is I set the alarm at 7 and 7:30. At 7:30, I get up. I feed my animals. I have 3 cats and 2 dogs. I come back into my living room. I jump on my treadmill for 30 minutes. Normally, I watch something on Hulu, 30, 45 minutes. So I get my Justified or, whatever I'm watching, Glee, all the fun stuff. And by the way, the 500th song on Glee sucked. And then once I'm done with my treadmill, I take a shower, and then I check email. And guess what I found out? The world didn't end. The world didn't end. I didn't miss anything important. I actually have employees that are smart. Who knew? That did their jobs. The world didn't end. Now, I'm, on my phone all day long. That's me. I've always been, right? Chick, chick, bling, bling, bloom. I'll be at the bar doing my thing. But the concept of being present is one of those, one of the hippie things. But it's amazing. It's amazing to take 100% of your brain power and focus in on what's happening now. Because what's now is the most important thing for you in your business. What happened in the past happened, and what's going to happen in the future will happen, but what's happening right now matters. And it's unbelievable, the difference that makes. That entire process in my morning from 7:30 is I'm done by 8:30, maybe 8:45. So let's say by 9 a.m., I'm checking my first email. The world didn't end by 9 a.m., which is fantastic. Now, how many people have ever tried to lose weight? Every hand better go up, you skinny motherfuckers. The one thing you're taught when you lose weight is that in the first 30 minutes of waking up, you should eat. And the reason why you do that is to tell your body it won't starve. So then it actually does a better job of handling food throughout the day. You burn fat better, and et cetera, et cetera. it would go to be true that the same thing should happen for your soul, for your brain, right? So the first thing you do in the first 30 minutes is for you, then your body, your brain is being told, I will be taken care of today. Today's not going to be as stressful. And what's actually been interesting is in the last couple months, I've had people come to me and go, dude, why are you so zen? And I'm like, I don't know, more drugs. Just kidding. I have the whole sober story, so I can't now tell the drug joke. But I'm more zen. I literally track my heart rate. My resting heart rate has dropped between 5 and 7 points. It literally has. Like, I'm not lying. And I'm not into all that. Like, I'm 330 pounds. I don't do a whole lot of yoga. Like, I get it. But it's amazing. So the first thing you do is you put yourself first. This is my favorite one. And this is why all the pictures are photos that I've taken. Fail with purpose. I was a competitive swimmer in high school. I weighed 178 pounds. I do have a photo if you don't believe me. It was up on my Facebook for a while, but I had to take it down because people were making jokes about my Speedo. Damn you all. But I stopped swimming after high school because I wasn't as good. And I don't like doing things that I'm not good at. It was difficult for me. I didn't swim as well as I could. I hated all of it. And about a month ago, maybe 6 weeks ago, I jumped back in the pool. And I said, you know what I'm going to do? Is I'm going to pick one tiny piece of the swim, and I'm going to enjoy that. I'm going to get excited about the fact that all of a sudden I can take my hand, I can do an S curve as I'm going through the water. And I'm just going to focus in on that. And what happened was, I love swimming. I swim more now. And so I highly recommend finding something that maybe you used to do that you no longer do because you think you're not good at it, or something that you've always wanted to do, in my case, photography, right? And just do it. And pick something. Look at the micro. Pick something to get excited about. This photo is probably the best photo I've ever taken. Another photo of Taylor. Yes, she looks like a deer. I've heard it all. But it's an amazing photo. I'm sorry. I like it. But I've never understood how to take an action photo. I took probably 800 of them while she was going around, and this is the one that was good. Right? It's like, again, it's like golf. Everybody I've heard that plays golf, they get one swing in that's perfect, and then they spend the rest of their life looking for that swing. There's some allegories in other areas, but find something to fail at with purpose. We talk about failing fast. I think that's kind of BS, right? Fail with purpose. We used to talk about, when I was at Service Magic, we used to talk about the idea of our failures happened with purpose because our successes then were sweeter. So if you fail a lot, a little, your one success will be gigantic. So we always fail, and we try to sit down and understand why we were failing, and we never were afraid to try and end in failure as long as we learn something from each one. So fail with purpose. The other nice thing about that is that you understand why you failed. So you're not in that state of being like, I have no idea why this shit didn't work. You're like, I get why it didn't work. I'm 330 pounds and 40 years old, and swimming is a little hard for me. Find easy. This is the only thing in here that I actually didn't do, but I am a horror movie fan, and if you can find Jason, I'm impressed. Find easy. There's an easy way to do everything. We do hard because we want to impress our friends with how hard we do. We believe that startups are hard. So we do hard. Don't do hard. Do easy. Take a complex task and break it into smaller pieces. Ask for help. Find easy. He's in the middle if you missed him. And this is the most important one. That's my cat, Winston, who used to sleep in a sushi bowl that's on the top of, in the kitchen over all the counters, which I thought was kind of cool. Join life. Walk outside your house. Notice that there is a sun and allow it to touch your skin. Call somebody you haven't talked to in 2 weeks and just say hi. This is something that Gary does really well. I get text messages from him that just say, love you, man, haven't talked to you in a while. Join life. Be, with your kids. It's okay. You don't have to feel guilty about it. You don't have to feel guilty about being here while all your friends are working at the office. This is life. These are people. This is why we're here. That's the hardest one for me. I'm pretty introverted, which is sort of strange that I like to do these talks. And I spend a lot of time at home. I enjoy watching movies and hang out with my dogs at home. I literally have to force myself to go out. My next big thing I'm trying to accomplish is singing at karaoke. I don't sing well. I don't even sing for myself in the shower, but I'm going to sing at karaoke. And that's the hardest one. Happiness is also not difficult. But happiness is best when it's shared. And if you live by yourself, in your own head, in your own company, focused in on just your own shit, you will never be happy. By the way, that painting behind it is Mark Hemian, who's a good friend of mine. If you want, I'll tell you his website. They're beautiful, and they're cheap. They're like $500 or $600. For art, that's cheap, sorry. They're actually painted on wood. And I only get 50% of all of his sales that you guys do, so just kidding. But be happy. The greatest thing in life is to wander around and look at little things that get you excited. The thing we lost as children when we became adults was we were told that it was not okay to look at a blade of grass and be excited by the fact that it's blowing in the wind. We were told that we are adults, and adults don't do that. They go to work, and they put food on the table, and they have children, and they get married, and that makes you happy. Maybe even buy a house that's not ugly like Martell's houses. Sorry. It was too easy. But be happy. Be happy in the face of the most difficult thing you have ever done in your entire life. Be happy that you're the one that's standing there willing to fight against insurmountable odds to achieve the goal that you have. Be happy that the fact that there are people that believe in you. Be happy that you are willing to and vulnerable enough to reach out to somebody else and say, please help me. That's the human condition. That's what we do as people. That's what the internet actually provides us, even though we don't know it. We read the New York Times about how we're all hiding behind our computers in order to interact, but the internet allows us to drive communication and information faster than it ever has and talk to people around the world. And in fact, your entire support group has gone from the 6 people that you know on your block to 6 million people that are sitting there on Facebook and Twitter. And you'd be surprised at how many of them are willing to just answer the question when you ask them, how can you help me? This is the help I need. Don't be afraid of them. Don't be afraid of the people. Be happy. And this is the most important thing. And this is the thing that we all screw up at, because we think finding a co-founder is hard, and we think constantly about the fact that in order to be successful, we need to find a co-founder. We use the word co-founder all the time. I never use the word co-founder. I always use the word pal, because a pal is a peer. And it's somebody that you can cry on their shoulder, you can punch in the face, that you can buy them dinner, right? They'll kick you in the ass. Find a pal. And if they have a skill set that's helpful in your company, sweet. And if they're not in your company, but they're somebody else, awesome. But you don't have to do this alone. And when you talk about work-life balance, it's easier to balance shit if you have extra shoulders. So find a pal. And I was going to do a really cool meditation thing, but then I figured I got into way too much hippie shit, so I'm not going to. But what I am going to do is I'm going to end early, so you guys can go to lunch early. And I'm going to give you guys 5. And so I'm going to leave you with this quote. You've heard from all of the speakers. You've gotten lots and lots of rules and ideas. Absorb them, think about them, and then break them and go do something amazing. Thank you.